So the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is just to do 10 push-ups.
Okay.
Okay. Because she hates push-ups, when this is taken away and the negative reinforcement stage of this experiment, it will hopefully increase her behavior of the task beforehand. Okay. After the push-ups, she will have to remember as many items on a page as possible in the next 20 seconds. This is the page that she will have to remember as many items from as possible in 20 seconds. When she names back all the ones she can remember, I will tally them down and compare them to the rest of the screens about to be shown in the next trial. Okay, stop looking at the picture. After the 20-second timer has called, she will tell me how many items she remembers from the screen. The number of items that she remembered on this screen for this particular experiment was 12. This is set as our control when she was not tested with a reinforcement positive or negative. Okay, we are on step 2 of our experiment. The second experiment is when we tested how well positive reinforcers influence behavior. We wanted to know whether or not they influence behavior more than the control without reinforcement and more than the negative reinforcement. I told her to do push-ups again to keep it consistent with the control in order for us to be able to take it away in the negative reinforcement stage in the next step. Just like in the last trial, she has 20 seconds to remember as many items on the screen as possible. But before giving her the computer, I let her know that if she scored a higher point and remembered more items on the page than the control or the last trial, she would get a piece of candy. This is acting as our positive reinforcer. Ready, set, go. Stop looking. Okay.
I remember a butterfly.
She went on to name 12 more items on the screen for a total of 13 items remembered when the positive reinforcement was presented. The third part of the trial for the first part of the experiment was started the same way as the control and the positive reinforcement stage before, with 10 push-ups. This was the negative reinforcement stage of the experiment. So before she started memorizing the items on the screen, just like the previous 2 times before in the experiment, she was told that if she remembered more than the previous 2 times of items, she would not have to do any more push-ups for the rest of the experiment. Therefore, taking away something she does not like to increase her behavior. You can begin. What do you remember?
A basketball.
After the 20 seconds were called, she listed off a total of 15 items. Not only did she remember more items from the screen after being presented with a negative reinforcer, but she also spent a lot more time trying to remember as many items as possible to make sure that she did not have to do any more push-ups. The negative reinforcer was a bigger motivator in this trial. The basis of this second part of the experiment is the same as the first. The participant will get 20 seconds to memorize as many objects on a screen as possible, and when the 20 seconds is done, repeat back the items that they remember for us to tally. This experiment is testing the same thing, whether negative or positive reinforcers are bigger motivators to increase behavior. The only difference is that we are using different positive and negative reinforcers to further justify our findings in the experiment. When the timer was called, she spit back out 7 items that she had remembered. In this trial, she was given no reinforcements, and therefore this was the control of the second part of the experiment, to which we will compare our second and third trial of this part of the experiment to.
This is the second
The
one.
second
You'll
part
have
of
20
this
seconds
experiment in the second
And this
trial
time-
is once again the positive reinforcement.
Look at
Before
it
she
for
was told to memorize as many objects as possible on the screen, she was told that if she remembered more than the last time or the control for our purposes, she will receive a homemade batch of cookies later on. She ended up remembering a total of 11 items on this screen, which was more than our control. And the last and final trial of the last part of the experiment, she was tested on negative reinforcements. She was told before she was told to memorize as many objects as possible, once again, like the other two trials, she was told that if you remember more than the first time of the control for our purposes, you won't have to do your days of dishes for a month. This was, therefore, the negative reinforcer, as we took away something that she does not like to increase her behavior. After the timer was called, she was able to recite 12 items that she remembered. This is more than the positive reinforcement from the trial before and the control for this part of the experiment. This is consistent with the first part of the experiment where she scored highest on the negative reinforcement over positive reinforcement and the control.